Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco, and this is your daily FaB gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the ongoing ProQuest Season 5 and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link available in the video description below. While they're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week. There are even more benefits coming down the pipeline. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. Illusionist players will never leave. They love their illusionists. So with Dromai now having LL'd, it's pretty safe to assume most, if not all of them, will migrate over to Prism. So Prism was already pretty strong heading into the post-Dromai world. Certainly she got better as Dromai was one of her bad matchups. And we need to know how to play against Prism. Overall, Kayo, in my opinion, is very favored against Prism. It's very hard to lose a game versus Prism. This is going to be an example of how we do lose to Prism. So pay attention because this is a great example of what not to do. Notably, this version of my deck does not have Gambler's Gloves. The current Talishar list does have it. I'm experimenting with the card. The philosophy that my team has come up with for Gambler's Gloves is not that we need it to win any Prism game, and in the vast majority of Prism games we don't need it. What we need it for is to combat Prism high rolls. Those Prism turns where she plays 2 Tome of Divinity, puts out 3 auras, puts out aura, flips Figment of Erudition, plays Arclight Sentinel. And that was when we really want to ensure that our Scab Skins is hitting a 4, 5, or 6. Especially as most Prisms are playing Gambler's Gloves against us, and we want to have gloves available to reroll when she makes us reroll. Gambler's Gloves is very complicated. Talishar has not implemented it properly, so definitely check with your local judge to confirm the ruling. But we're not playing it here. What we are playing is our normal equipment loadout, as well as almost every popper in our deck. So we're playing 65 cards. Notably, we are not playing Bear Fangs or Cast Bones, the reason being that they don't pop. The only non-poppers we have in our deck are either blues or have go again. So pulping, wild rides are in. Despite not being poppers, the reason is that going 3 links wide is the best way to pressure Prism. And if you can order your 3 links such that you are potentially sending a pulping, then a wild ride, then a Mandible Claw, you can put your Mandible Claw at the Genesis or Passing Mirage that Prism has on the board and kill it. You also get your 2 card, pitch a blue, attack with a wild ride, use your Tunic, claw a Passing Mirage. The important thing is that you're killing Genesis and Passing Mirage, and that you are killing Soraya once it hits the board. Hopefully you can pressure Prism's life total so that it dies through ward, but if all you've got in your turn is a Claw for 4, kill Soraya. For Prism's part, she is desperately trying to assemble a board with multiple auras and Arclight Sentinel. Her Arclight loop is not really possible against Kayo, and if she does pull it off, then we are significantly far behind. But she is just trying to get her value with Herald of Erudition, Figment of Erudition flipped into Soraya, and weird little Halo of Illumination tricks, putting a Herald into Soul, then using her Vestige of Soul to pitch a blue to play Tome of Divinity, to try to find answers, and then failing to find them because she's Prism and significantly unfavored into Kayo. For our part, we're just throwing damage at her face. But, like I said, this is an example of how we lose the Prism game, so let's submit deck and see exactly what went wrong and how we can fix it. Opening up with a very bad hand on the draw. So not only do we not get to filter this hand, but we only have one action point. We could roll Scabs here. I think that would be a mistake. What I'm going to do instead is claw the Genesis and overpitch to do so. So I will pitch my Humble, then my Smash Instinct, and I'm going to Arsenal Swing Big. The reason I want to overpitch is I want to get a red out of my hand to open up my potential of drawing more blues or go again. And the reason I want to keep a swing big as opposed to a humble is that I want a super popper for Herald of Triumph. We cannot pop Triumph with a 6-power attack because of its effect. And with the list that I'm running, the only popper we have for Triumph is swing big. So if I have 2 swing bigs in my hand, I want to arsenal one of them. If I have a swing big and another 6, I want to arsenal the 6. I want my swing bigs for popping. Here we have Merciful Retribution come down. So we are going to, Prism is going to get her Figment. Very unlikely that she is going to flip it this turn. Not only can she not flip it due to a lack of resources, but even if she had Empyrean Rapture, she doesn't want to leave it available for us to kill. We could break Merciful here. I am more of a fan of just attacking with Send Packing. Hopefully forcing Prism to play defense, continuing to overpitch just to get some of the clunkers out of our hand. We really want to be drawing our go again here. E-strikes, pulpings, wild rides. Prism decides to eat the damage. Her Herald stays banished, and we will pass the turn to her. Now we're starting to draw into some gas. Prism's turn is just Merciful Retribution pass, so looking really good for a offensive turn here. We are just going to fire off this Blood Rush and hope that we keep Wild Ride, which we do. Looking very good right now. Between 3 blues, I think we should lead with Wild Ride. I don't like leading with Pulping here, in case this card in Prism's arsenal is Soul Shield. But definitely digging for a blue to Claw Pack Hunt or Claw Swing Big would be nice. Failing to find a blue but getting a yellow is going to let us Claw Swing Big, and that is exactly what we'll do. Just throwing all of this damage at Prism. Prism deciding not to block here is very threatening for us. 5-card Prism with Figment of Erudition is very scary. It means that she is expecting to draw a lot of cards. And yeah, going down to 3 to do so, just horrifying. She has something impressive cooking on her side of the board. But we'll see. Hopefully we draw some poppers and can manage to pull it out. Light of Soul here, getting a great banish. Putting a card into Soul and triggering Prism such that she finds another Figment is pretty bad for us. It being Figment of Protection creates a Spectral Shield that we are going to have to deal with. As far as this Herald of Erudition, we want to block this with one of our poppers and Scowling Flesh Bag. Deciding which popper it should be probably is Runner. Our turn would then look like Wild Ride, Pitch Wrecker Romp, discard Windup, or potentially Claw, discard Agile Windup, Arsenal, Wild Ride. But what is really important is that we intimidate the card out of Prism's hand in order to prevent this turn from getting scarier. And what I mean by that is, if we block the Erudition with a 6 power attack, Prism has the ability to pitch a card from hand, break Halo of Illumination, banish the other card in her hand to tutor out a Figment of Triumph to reduce the attack power of our defending cards so that we cannot pop the Erudition. But what happens then is Erudition still doesn't hit because we blocked it for 5. Prism loses the card in her hand so that she cannot pay to flip her Figment of Erudition and then pay for the Erudition attack. So unless she can play a Herald from Arsenal, her turn just ends. And if her turn just ends, then we get to either attack Soraya if Prism flipped it, or we get to just send damage at Prism's face and force her to play more defensively. So using our Flesh Bag here is not exactly keeping us safe. It is making sure that Prism cannot mount any sort of counterattack. And blocking with the Bonebreaker instead gets us our might value. Prism decides not to go for the Halo trick, but it is keeping a card in Prism's hand, which is going to let her flip. We do pop the Erudition, so it is going to go into Prism Soul. Prism does get to tutor. We take 2 points of damage from Merciful Retributions, and Prism is able to pay into Slippers to get her action point back, but notably she does have a card, so she can pay her 2 to flip Figment of Erudition, and she can pitch her card to attack with it, and if we had Flesh Bagged, she would not be able to attack. So now we are in a position where we're taking this 4 points of damage. We're not going to block the Angel. The Angel has no on-hit. The Angel has already done its thing by attacking and banishing a card from Soul. So this is just 4 damage. And now Prism plays Tome of Divinity, draws 3 more cards. Breaks the Halo of Illumination here, which is going to let her filter, put another card into Soul, another Herald into Soul to get another Figment. And none of this happens if we had blocked with Flesh Bag. That's the important thing to remember about this turn, is outside of that Herald of Erudition attack, none of what Prism has done can happen if we had intimidated a card out of her hand. We are not going to pop this Herald. We would not be preventing Prism from finding a Figment because of Merciful Retribution. So we're fine to take this damage because we want 3 cards here. And what we want to do with this hand, we would like to pitch our Wild Ride to Claw Soraya, then discard Agile Windup to make Might Agility and Arsenal Runner. That takes Soraya off the table, which is the single most important thing that we can do once Soraya has been flipped, because we prevent Prism from drawing more cards. Prism has 3 cards in Soul, so it isn't like we can just pop her Heralds, keep them from going to Soul, and prevent her card draw. She has cards in Soul and she has Merciful Retributions. So the most important thing we can do is take Soraya off the table, and the guaranteed way to do that is by clawing for, well at this point 5. Clawing for 5, then discarding our Windup to get our Might and Agility and Arsenal and Runner, just hoping to stem the bleeding with Popper and Flesh Bag, and trying to kill Prism with a 4 or 5 card hand. What we're doing instead is sending Wild Ride and bricking. So we lose, well, we never gain Go Again. But what is worth noting about this is that this was a bad line anyway. Let's say that we didn't discard Blood Rush Bella. Let's say even that we drew the Blood Rush Bella. So we have it in hand. Wild Ride has Go Again and is attacking Prism for 7. Prism can then block with 2 cards and her Spectral Shield to cover the 7. We pitch Blood Rush to attack with Claw. Prism blocks with a 3rd card from hand to cover the Claw damage, and now, with her remaining card, if it's a yellow, she pitches that to Soraya, banishes 2 card from Soul, and draws 2 cards, and now gets to continue her turn. So, what is baffling to me watching this play is this was never going to work. There was never an opportunity for us to kill Soraya taking this line. So throwing Wild Ride at Prism's face was just... greedy is the right word for it, but also stupid, because it wouldn't have worked. It wasn't like, oh, well, we greeted our way into a loss, because even if we didn't get punished by the random draw discard, we still don't win. It doesn't, the thing we want to happen doesn't happen. So we have, this is really our first mistake, was not killing Soraya, and we even could have done so by setting up a really powerful next turn. So here, we can Flesh Bag away. We do get punished as Merciful Retribution prevents the Intimidate from having an effect, but we've also taken Prism's hand away. So her turn ends with this attack. Except it doesn't. So what we want to do here is block with Clash of Agility, because we really want Go Again. Since we notably don't have it, because we did not discard Natural Wind-Up on our last turn. Using the Bone Breaker here I think is fine. If we are anticipating Pack Hunt having Go Again, we want to attack with Pack Hunt for 7 instead of 6. But of course we tie our clash instead of winning it. Unlikely to happen, but Prism does have 6s and 7s in her deck, and if we flip a blue to her yellow, then we are tying. Not having Go Again here is a tremendous problem. At this point, we should roll Scabs, because this board is getting out of hand, and we need to be able to pressure Prism. At the very least, we should attack Soraya, and what we should actually do with this hand, if we aren't going to roll Scabs, is we should pitch our Wrecker Romp to attack... Oh, never mind, that's a Pound Town, not an Assault and Battery. We definitely should be attacking Soraya, because again, at this point, we are just putting Prism in a position where she could block with 3 cards in hand and then attack with Soraya. We need to have taken Soraya off the board already, but if we were not going to have taken Soraya off the board, we need to do it now. And instead, we are leaving Soraya here, so Soraya is going to keep generating card draw for Prism, which is going to keep putting us farther behind. She has 3 Merciful Retributions, so all she really needs to do to win this game is flip Figment of Protection and start making Spectral Shields, because for every Spectral Shield that we kill, we will take 3 points of damage. We finally draw a Wild Ride, so we do have some Go Again that we can attempt to do anything with, but I do think at this point it's way too late. Soraya has been alive for 2 turns longer than she should have been, and that is going to cost us this game. Prism is just drawing way too many cards, which she was able to do anyway with Tomes of Divinity. The Prism drew pretty well this game, but we let her get away with way too much nonsense, and here she is with Aegis having flipped, 2 Spectral Shields is preventing 2 points of damage to Prism, plus the 8 points of damage prevention she has from 2 angels. And for every spectral shield that dies, we will take 3 points of damage. So if Prism resolves a Genesis on our turn, then banishes to it on her turn, we lose the game. If Prism plays Arclight Sentinel, we lose the game. If Prism generates any kind of token at all, if she flips Figment of... well, that wouldn't happen. There are a lot of ways that we lose this game at this point. We are now taking 6 points of damage from Merciful Retribution. We are not killing Prism. We can claw Send Packing and at least try and disrupt Prism a little bit. But we're very unlikely to win. We can't pop Heralds anymore. If we pop a Herald, we lose the game. So our win con at this point is hoping that Prism just doesn't have blocks, and she does play the Arclight Sentinel, and that does kill us. Because we have to attack Arclight Sentinel, which means that we die. Although I suppose, now that I'm thinking about it, because I don't remember exactly how that turn happened. Did she block the claw? Yeah, she plays the Arclight Sentinel, which we now have to attack with Send Packing. Yeah, so there was really no way out, and she had cards to block with, so we would have lost the game anyway. So yes, we let Prism get way too much value out of Soraya, which is why we lost that game. And we certainly had some clunky initial draws, right? We had a number of draws with no go again. We had no way to gain extra action points if we didn't want to roll Scab Skins. But we had a massive Blood Rush turn that put Prism to a 35 life point deficit. And from there, we just let her get away with way too much. The Flesh Bag needed to come out as a block to prevent her from getting that initial card draw from Soraya. After that, we needed to kill Soraya, which we didn't do for 3 turns, which let Prism draw 6 more cards, and she just ran away with the game from there. The Kayo Prism matchup is significantly favored for Kayo, unless we disrespect Prism like I just did. And you can see it was still kind of a close-ish game, but we should have won this game 3 turns ago, and we just didn't. And we let Prism get way too far ahead. So, well, you could certainly look and say, oh, maybe if I had had Gambler's Gloves, I could have rolled Scab Skins and got myself out of the situation. If I had Gambler's Gloves to compete with Prism's Gloves, then I feel better about rolling Scabs when the Clash of Agility didn't win. But at the same time, had we played better in the previous 2 turns, we wouldn't have needed Clash to win because we would have been so far ahead that we would have easily won this game anyway. So even more so than Gambler's Gloves, which is why I'm torn on running Gambler's Gloves, just play smart, play disciplined, and just think about what your Flesh Bag is doing, think about how your turn needs to look like, think about how you can easily kill Soraya, and you should have no trouble winning this matchup outside of a massive Prism high roll, which this Prism certainly did good things, but she didn't high roll us. We just played poorly. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out, but no matter what you do, catch me back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.